This event was a lot cooler than I thought it would be. To give you a little rundown, because it's a little long, General Brown's comments are at minute 18, reaffirmation of the oath at about 31, Bud's thank you at 36, and at the very end, you'll find the band that played and the old crow car. The band was really good.
Clarence E. Bud Anderson on the occasion of his honorary appointment to Brigadier General. I am Tom Jones, the Executive Director of the Aerospace Museum of California, and your MC for today's ceremony. Please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the rendering of musical honors, the presentation of the colors, the singing of the national anthem by Airman First Class Erica Husaby, and the invocation by Major General Jim Hopp, U.S. Air Force, retired.
Post the colors.
Stand by. Color. Then cut. Right shoulder. Ha. Forward. Ha. Precinct, ho!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh,
Major General Hopp, will you please offer the invocation?
Let us pray. Lord God, Almighty Father, creator of mankind and author of peace, make us ever mindful of the cost paid for liberty that we possess. We ask you to bless our friend and fellow airman Bud Anderson, who gave so much to protect our freedoms, to support the mission of the Air Force throughout his years of retirement, and whom we honor today for his well-deserved appointment to Honorary Brigadier General. We also ask for the blessings of the members and the veterans of the U.S. Air Force and all the armed services. Protect those who continue to serve and their families. Heal their wounds, physical, psychological, and spiritual. And continue to bless and protect our great nation. Amen.
Thank you, Major General Hopp. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, we would like to invite Ms. Connie Boland to the podium for a special tribute to Colonel Anderson.
Good afternoon. Tom, thank you, and thank you to your team for allowing me to be the one to offer this tribute on behalf of Bud's many friends who are here in the audience today. This is a real honor for all of us, and I'd also like to thank General Brown for being here. This makes it even more special, as Bud, that smile that Bud has means a lot to all of us. So again, I thank you for this opportunity. Thanks to all of you for being here to pay tribute to Bud. I'd like to quote our friend Jack Roush in saying that Bud Anderson is the kind of man and the kind of person that you would like your children to grow up to be. So Bud, we thank you for what you've meant for all of us, the part you've played in our lives. You have made us all better. Integrity, honesty, commitment. That's Bud Anderson. He's a great American, a dedicated friend, and I'm proud to say that he has been my friend for many years. If I told you how many years, you might think he's older than he is. Bud and I have flown together, we've hunted, we've fished, we have traveled, we have shared good times, we've shared a few sad times, and we have become family. The family here on the front row, they are my family. Bud is very special, as he is to all of you. I can share a few fun stories, which I know quite a few of you could tell the same fun stories, but I probably am the only one here who has seen Bud in his white flight suit, party suit. If you're not familiar with a party suit, that is often designed to show off the fighter pilot physique. In Bud's case, it was white, it was polyester, and he wore it at a reunion, which was quite a statement, which prompted, I think the flight suit probably came in the Vietnam era, but I believe I saw it the first time at a 357th Fighter Group reunion. And the story goes that on one occasion, there may have been alcohol involved, but Bud was stuffed in the trunk of a car as he's laughing and cackling in his party suit. So this is the Bud Anderson that I know many of you know, and the fun times that we have had over the years. I have been honored to be one of Bud's many wingmen, and in this particular, for me, most often it's in a P-51, and The flight suit that Bud wore in 1987 was not the party suit. It was a real flight suit when he once again got behind the controls of a P-51. It had been many, many years since he had flown a P-51, but he soloed our P-51 in 1987, and in the debrief, he said to us, when I asked, what were you thinking? He said, what was I thinking? I was thinking, oh God, don't let me screw up now. I believe that's a true quote, isn't it, Bud? Yeah, absolutely. So obviously he did not screw up, because Bud continued to fly the P-51 until he was 86 years old. And I believe that age is correct, pretty close. And along that time, again, I had the pleasure of flying with Bud. The many wingmen that Bud enjoyed flying with over the years, even in the military and then later on in civilian life. His most dedicated wingman, which those of you in the audience know that the job of a wingman and the lead is to take care of each other. Bud's best wingman was his wife, Ellie. His wife of almost 70 years. She passed in 2015, just 1 month short of their 70th wedding anniversary. Ellie was his great wingman. She took care of him. They took care of each other right until the very end. Bud was the dedicated husband that he had always been. Ellie was also, I have observed, to be a pretty good bombardier. She and Bud were in the Cub, the J3 Cub, and Ellie was throwing the flower bombs out to see if she could hit the target on the runway. She was also a pretty good navigator when they were trying to burst the balloons with the prop of the J3 Cub. I hope I have shared a little bit of the personal side of Bud with you, and paying tribute not only to a great American, someone who served his country for more than 30 years, but the true Bud Anderson is a good friend. And Bud, I thank you for being my friend and for the friend of all of these people here. Congratulations, General Bud Anderson. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. We are honored to introduce Colonel Anderson's family and close friends in attendance today. Colonel Anderson's brother, Mr. David Anderson, Colonel Anderson's son, Lieutenant Colonel Jim Anderson, United States Air Force retired, Colonel Anderson's daughter, Miss Kitty Burlington, accompanied by her spouse, Mr. Bill Burlington, Colonel Anderson's grandson, Mr. Matt Anderson, Colonel Anderson's nephew, Mr. Alan Anderson, accompanied by his spouse, Miss Becky Anderson. And I want to take a moment to recognize Lieutenant Colonel Tom Dwelly, a close personal friend of Bud's, who unfortunately is not able to attend today's historic event. Tom's longtime friendship and his efforts to assist with Colonel Anderson's promotion to Brigadier General, plus his outstanding efforts to assist with the coordination of this event, were invaluable. We express our sincere gratitude to Lieutenant Colonel Tom Dwelly for his continuous and loyal friendship to Colonel Anderson. Distinguished visitors attending today are the presiding officer, the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, General Charles Q. Brown, Jr. The honoree, Colonel Clarence E. Bud Anderson, United States Air Force, retired. Representing Congresswoman Doris Matsui for California's 6th District is District Director Glenda Corcoran. Representing Congressman Tom McClintock, the Chief of Staff for California's 4th District, Captain Rocky Deal, United States Navy, retired. Representing Congressman Doc LaMalfa, the Senior District Advisor for California's 1st District, Miss Lisa Mera, accompanied by Mr. Todd Mara. Major General Jim Hopp, United States Air Force, retired. Rear Admiral Bonnie Potter, United States Navy, retired, accompanied by Mr. August Anima. Brigadier General Edward McElhaney, Kansas Air National Guard, retired, accompanied by Miss Connie Boland. The Honorable Rich Desmond, Sacramento County Board of Supervisors, District 3, and an Aerospace Museum of California board member. The Honorable Jeff Harris, Sacramento City Council, District 3, and an Aerospace Museum of California board member. Former State Assemblyman Roger Dickinson, accompanied by his wife Marge Dickinson. And finally, I would like to introduce Bud Anderson superfans, Caden Mara and Thomas Robinson. Young men, would you mind standing up and giving Colonel Bud a special salute? Thank you very much. To all other senior officials, friends, and colleagues, thank you for taking time out of your schedules to join us today for this momentous occasion. And now it is my pleasure to introduce General Charles Hugh Brown, Jr., Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force.
Good afternoon. It is a real pleasure and honor to be here today with you. As you might imagine, as the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, I get to do some pretty neat things, and this is one of them. This is the second opportunity I've had a chance to promote someone from our greatest generation. And I want to thank the museum, the entire team from Travis and everyone else who was behind the scenes that were able to pull this together, one, to make the request, but two, to make it happen. And the aspect that, when I got asked, General Brown, could you do this? I said, well, let's see how my calendar rolls out to pull all this together. And it just so happened the day that you wanted to do this ceremony, I was going to be in the West Coast anyway. And I figured out a way to squeeze an opportunity to come here to McClellan to be able to do this very, very special ceremony. And so, I could not be more honored to be here as the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, to be really a part of history, as you recognize Bud Anderson. Now, Bud Anderson, this is actually the fourth time he and I have crossed paths. And he may not remember all of them, but I do. The very first time, I was a student graduating from Air Command and Staff College. And for those that have gone to Air Command and Staff College, we have a thing called the Gathering of Eagles. We bring together very historical aspects of the Air Force and aviation in general, military aviation in general. And we have some of the representatives there. So for my class of 1997, Bud Anderson was there, Chuck Yeager, Robin Knowles. I'll never forget it because one of my classmates was an escort for Robin Knowles, so we were on the back patio having cocktails with Robin Knowles, Bud Anderson, and a few others. So that was the first time. The second time is when I was commander of Pacific Air Forces. And Buddy came to Hawaii for a ceremony remembering events at Pearl Harbor that was held at the Pacific Aviation Museum. And that was the first time I was your escort officer for the ceremony. And then here back in July, I was at Oshkosh, and I had a chance not only to meet Bud, but also to meet Jim and Kitty as well, and spend a little time with them here, and today's number 4. And so I'm so glad that our paths have crossed so many different times here most recently. As highlighted, you talked about Eleanor and being your wingman, but one of the quotes that I got to prepare for the ceremony is that Bud had said that she was the best thing that ever happened to him. But I also think about the whole family and the opportunity when many of us serve. It's the airman that gets all the glory, but it's the family behind the scenes sometimes that actually does not always get the recognition, but they have some ultimate sacrifices that they make with all the moves and you going off to combat and making sure you come home safely. But it's really the aspect of the family and the impact that they have be able to allow things to happen. And it really started for Bud, as he told me today. He started here at McClellan, he retired here at McClellan, and he's going to get his first start here at McClellan. And so it's really come full circle. But you think about the aspect that he, born in Oakland, grew up in Newcastle, roughly about 20 miles away from here, very connected to this community. And it was because his parents signed his initial enlistment to allow him to come into the, back then, the Army Air Corps. But his real inspiration started with a flight in an aircraft at 7 years old. And you think about when I talk about our airmen, you only aspire to be what you see. And when you have an opportunity to see or have the opportunity to go fly in an aircraft, that's when you decide that this is what I want to do when I grow up. And the fact that his parents allowed him to pay the small price of $9.50 for insurance to allow him to get his permission to go fly, and then fly in a Piper Cup here in the local area. He joined the Air Force, or the Army Air Corps, to fight during World War II. And he joined in 1942 as coming out of the flying cadet program here at McClellan, and received his wings. He was commissioned in September of 42 at Luke Field in Arizona. He then served 2 tours in World War II. And the one unique thing about Bud is he's a triple ace. 16 and a half kills, 116 combat, or 16 and a quarter kills, 116 combat missions. He had 2 probable kills, 2 damaged aircraft, and 1 enemy aircraft that he destroyed on the ground. So he's kind of a wrecking ball of a guy. And I think for many of us, probably won't want to have him behind us, shooting us down. But he had a distinguished career, 25 years of flight test background as a test pilot, chief engineer, but 30 years on active duty, but continues in military service. The opportunity to command a fighter squadron right after the Korean War, 2 fighter wings, the 18th Wing in the Canadian Air Base, and the 355th Tactical Fighter Wing at Tak Lee Royal Thai Air Base in Thailand during Vietnam. So with that distinguished career, Bud had flown over 130 different aircraft and logged over 7,500 flying hours. He also had a number of distinguished awards: 2 Legions of Merit, 5 Distinguished Flying Crosses, the Bronze Star, 16 Air Medals, and the French Legion of Honor, and the French Croix de Coeur. He retired from the Air Force back in 1972 and fully retired after another 12 years of service at Edwards Air Force Base. Number of other distinguished awards: he's a life member of the American Fighter Aces Association, a fellow for the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. 2008, he was inducted into the National Aviation Hall of Fame. 2013, inducted into the International Air and Space Hall of Fame. And in 2015, received the Congressional Gold Medal with the American Aces. And then finally, in 2017, he was inducted into the Experimental Aircraft Association Warbirds American Hall of Fame. Now, you might imagine as the Chief of Staff, I have a chance to do a number of promotion ceremonies. And I wanted to do Bud's just like I do every single one of them, which is what I just did for part of it. But also what I do is I get these service records of each of the members that I have a chance to promote. And I go through their records to look for little nuggets of information that people said about that particular individual that might give us a clue that one day they would be on a stage just like this getting promoted. And so, Bud, I had a pretty thick binder I was going through. Some of the print was a little bit faded, that I had to kind of piece it together by context. But it was really good to have a chance just to read through, and for me personally, to reflect on the history of our Air Force and the impact you had on our history of our Air Force. And just to think of the shoulders that we all stand on because of gentlemen just like you, and those and young ladies and others that have served within our Air Force to make us great. So I'm going to quote a couple things out of Bud's record. He can be trusted to express an honest opinion based on knowledge, experience, and ability. Engineers with whom he has worked have accepted his advice and counsel unhesitatingly. He's perceptive and intelligent. And I think the one that was most telling here is he has the experience and potential for advancement to positions of greater responsibility. And I consider him general officer material. So we've come full circle here at McClellan and considered your awesome material. One of the things that we talked about today with Bud was highlighted by his family is one of his heroes is Jimmy Doolittle. And for me personally, this is a very, very important and historic day. The fact that today I get to promote Bud Anderson, but I'll leave here right after we get done with this ceremony to go down to Palmdale. We're going to roll out the newest bomber for the United States Air Force, the B-21. It's named the Raider, after the Doolittle Raiders. And so, I just love it when a plan comes together. This has been, for me personally, just a tremendous honor. I appreciate all of you being here to witness today's ceremony. And Bud, thank you for making this day possible. Thank you for your service and thanks for all you've done for our United States Air Force and for our nation as you continue to serve. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the reading of the appointment order.
Publish your.
Attention to orders. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Clarence E. Bud Anderson, Colonel, United States Air Force retired, is honorarily promoted to the grade of Brigadier General. Given this second day of December, 2022, signed Frank Kendall, Secretary of the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, General Brown will pin on the new rank. The star is the oldest continually used rank in the United States military. The use of the star to signify the rank of a general officer can be traced to a June 1780 decree by General George Washington during the War of American Independence. It is believed that General Washington chose the star as a symbol of a general officer's rank in honor of its use in the Allied French armed forces. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay standing as General Brown administers the reaffirmation of the oath.
To defend the Constitution of the United States. Of all enemies,
Foreign and domestic.
foreign or domestic, in their true faith, allegiance to the same. I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation, purpose of evasion. Will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I'm about to enter. So help me God.
Please be seated. At this time, Brigadier General Bud Anderson will be presented with his personal colors. Throughout the history of warfare, a general officer's personal flag symbolized leadership on the battlefield. The Air Force has incorporated the use of flags to signify the presence of a general officer. This flag will be present at all official military functions and will also be visibly displayed in the honoree's office. The color bearer will now post General Anderson's personal flag. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce Brigadier General Bud Anderson.
First, why don't you be seated? Keep everyone comfortable. Wow, I didn't know I was going to get a special flag for myself. Wow. First, I want to thank everybody here for coming, and everybody here that had anything to do with my promotion. Thank you very much. It's a little overwhelming for me. I usually have a short talk and a long talk, and then the short one is thank you, and the long one is thank you very much. But this event exceeds that phrase. It's truly blown my mind to see the chief of staff himself come to do this. It's a little bit overwhelming. And my many friends out there in the crowd, I sure didn't expect to see. So I do thank you very much.
In keeping with Air Force tradition, we will conclude today's ceremony with the playing of the Air Force song, which is printed in your official program. While it is customary for Air Force members to stand, we invite all of our guests to join us in standing for the Air Force song and the departure of the official party, and all of our distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of General Brown and General Anderson, thank you once again for honoring us with your presence today. This concludes today's ceremony. You're invited to join us near the Old Crow Cafe, right behind you, for a toast of Old Crow, of course, a cake cutting reception in honor of General Bud Anderson. In respect for General Anderson's health, please refrain from close contact with him during the reception. Also, please feel free to stay after the ceremony and enjoy the Aerospace Museum of California. Have a great Air Force Day. We learned that this honor had been approved. Our entire team jumped into action and we scrambled to coordinate this event as quickly as possible. Early on, I was talking to the protocol office at the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, his protocol office, and they mentioned that planning for an event like this normally takes 4 to 6 months. We finished this in 2 weeks. So, our team, along with the incredible assistance and support from the Chief of Staff of the Air Force's Protocol Office, the 60th Air Mobility Wing Protocol Office. All of us coordinated this event very, very quickly, and I think that we did a great job as a team. I just want to thank everybody on that team here. Before we begin, let's thank this incredible team who made the event possible. The Chief of Staff of the Air Force's Protocol Office, 60th Air Mobility Wing Protocol Office, specifically Michael and Sergeant Williams, thank you very much. Congressman Doug LaMalfa in his office, Congressman Tom McClintock in his office, Lisa Mara from Congressman Doug LaMalfa's office, Major General Jim Hopp, Rear Admiral Bonnie Potter, Brigadier General Mike Peters, Lieutenant Colonel Tom Duelli, Lieutenant Colonel Jim Anderson, Captain Ken Duelli, Mr. Terrence T.J. McGrath, Mrs. Connie Bolin, Miss Linda Martin, President of the Board of Directors of the Aerospace Museum of California, plus the entire Board of Directors from the Aerospace Museum of California. Mrs. Karen Jones, Advancement Director at the Aerospace Museum of California. And then please give a warm thank you to our staff here at the museum. We only have 10 people on the staff of this museum, full-time people, and we've got a lot of volunteers, but the staff and volunteers of this museum, you'll see the volunteers in red vests. They work their tails off to bring this all together, and they just do a great job. So please give them a warm applause. I'd like to thank Rose Peters as well for helping so much with everything that you do, and you and Kathy are a godsend. Thank you. We will begin momentarily.
Here we are at the Aerospace Museum of California for the Bud Anderson ceremony to pin Bud Anderson and make him a general. I think the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, I don't know, something along those lines. We will know more, is coming up. Here's the little mini-me somebody made up, brings to these kind of events. Pretty cool, actually. The question is it a pedal car? Nope, it's a push car. So you'd have to put your kid in if you could get him. If you could get him to go along with that. Just got kicked out. We'll see more of it later. Old Crow Cafe.